Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. Who do you think would win in a fight between Human Torch and Iceman? Iceman is an Omega level mutant possessing the ability to control ice and temperature at a molecular level. He can freeze anything, create giant ice structures, create ice clones, and even split his body into a living ice form that is nearly invulnerable to conventional physical damage. In his most complete state, Iceman can change the climate, freeze entire cities, or create extreme weather phenomena. Human Torch is the living embodiment of fire. He has the ability to cover his body with plasma fire, fly at extremely high speeds, shoot streams of fire that can burn metal, and control temperatures up to thousands of degrees Celsius. Johnny Storm also possesses a signature move called Nova Flame, an attack so powerful that it can burn everything within a radius of hundreds of meters, including super durable creatures. Before we dive into the analysis, please click the subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications. And Robert Bobby Drake, known as Iceman, is one of the founding members of the legendary mutant group X-Men. He joined the organization when he was only 15 years old, possessing the ability to control the temperature of the surrounding environment to create ice with absolute precision. Over the decades, he has participated in a series of campaigns and missions with many different generations of X-Men, although he is classified as an Omega level mutant, the highest level of power. Although he is a mutant, Iceman has long been limited by his own psychology. He often lacks confidence and sometimes fails to fully exploit the terrible potential he possesses. However, when he lets go of all his inner constraints, Iceman can become one of the most terrifying, destructive entities on the planet. He once turned each falling raindrop into a giant fist as if forged from pure ice, swinging it like a sledgehammer to smash all obstacle. When needed, he built a giant ice machine with a complex structure like Voltron, which can attack simultaneously in coordinated attacks. He also manipulated the molecular structure to create a living ice army, acting as secondary entities. At one point, he lowered the temperature of the environment to near absolute zero, causing every molecule to stand still, freezing time in a deadly moment. Iceman once covered the entire city of New York in ice for a few minutes, creating a white picture as if the whole world was being submerged in the fury of winter. He changed his body size, turning into an ice giant tens of meters tall. He even froze his own father's heart, an act that symbolized his deep inner pain and the terrifying potential he held. In his darkest moments, if he truly lost control, this entity could plunge the whole world into a permanent ice age. Iceman, once considered a mutant with the ability to control ice and snow, has now evolved into the most powerful mutant entity that has ever existed. He is currently classified as an Omega level mutant with a range of abilities far beyond his original limits. Iceman now possesses complete control over water in all its forms, manipulating temperature at will, and can create living, willful clones that act as powerful sub-individuals. In fierce battles, Iceman has covered his entire body in thick, transparent ice, forming weapons, armor, combat creatures, or any structure he can imagine. He has the ability to create a giant iceberg in the middle of Central Park, as massive as an ice fortress in the middle of a modern city. He has also proven himself to be a biological shield, having once blocked the attack of solar flares aimed at Earth. During his confrontation with Hex, he summoned a gigantic version of himself, as tall as a building, to confront the cosmic entity with absolute calmness. One of his most remarkable and astonishing feats was freezing the entirety of hell. In that instant, every eternal flame was extinguished, and every being in the abyss was bound in crystalline ice, as if his coldness had not only extinguished heat, but also stopped time and sin. The Iceman possesses such exquisite control over his body temperature that he can lower the temperature both internally and externally without causing any harm to himself. His body emits a fierce cold, spreading like a thick icy mist across the surrounding space. In a matter of seconds, he can reach temperatures of minus 105 degrees Fahrenheit and is completely immune to all sub-freezing conditions. Any environment he enters is instantly transformed into a white landscape where ice seeps into every crevice of rock and permeates every molecule of air. Iceman can freeze the moisture in the air around him, turning it into a hard, crystalline substance. From there, he can easily create ice structures with specific shapes, such as soaring slides, long ladders spanning over canyons, and curved shields to protect his body, allowing him to build large-scale structures such as walls, mazes, or fortresses right in the middle of the battlefield. He has demonstrated the ability to reach absolute zero temperature, a threshold at which all molecular motion ceases. This means that he can freeze not only matter, but also all energy within the area of effect. The surrounding space is locked in a state of stasis, with no living thing able to move or react in time. He can increase his strength and durability by absorbing moisture from his surroundings, making his ice form thicker, harder, and more indestructible. If he is ever broken or completely disintegrated, he can regenerate his original form by gathering the surrounding water molecules and reshaping his body as desired. This regeneration occurs almost instantly and leaves no permanent damage, like a living wave of ice reassembling itself. In particular, he has the ability to move quickly over long distances by merging his body into natural water streams, such as rivers, underground streams, or any body of water in the area. By combining the molecules in his body with the molecules of the water, he transforms into a super speed teleportation stream, sliding through space like a living river, then rematerializing his body at his chosen destination. Iceman once participated in a fierce battle against entities created by the Celestials, where the line between order and chaos became so fragile that even a small mistake could destroy the entire planet. In that moment, he was infected with the power of death speed, a deadly super speed energy source originating from Apocalypse, the bearer of the ancient will to destroy. When this energy penetrated his body, it distorted Iceman's mind, turning him into an icy nightmare beyond all rational limits. Under its influence, he not only lost control but also nearly froze the entire atmosphere of the Earth, freezing the dense forests and causing cities to be engulfed in a fierce ice fog. He kidnapped his ex-girlfriend as part of his distorted memories. He even nearly killed his own father, an act that showed the extent of his mental breakdown and the danger tainted by dark forces. Bobby Drake later regained control and accompanied the Thing and Giant Man on an urgent mission to defeat the criminal organization known as the Circus of Crime. Faced with dangerous and sophisticated tricks to rescue Alicia Masters from the hands of his enemies, his ice was not only a fighting tool, but also a shield to protect the lives of innocent people. He confronted the calculating Magneto, the magnetic controller, and clashed many times with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, where hostile forces joined forces to destroy the defenders of humanity. In each of those battles, his ice is not only a symbol of strength, but also a solid pillar of will, sacrifice, and belief in the right thing. Please subscribe to the channel, it will help us a lot, and moreover, you will see great videos every day. You are the best. Thank you very much. The Human Torch is a name that evokes the intense burning of not only fire, but also spirit and ultimate power. He is one of the most important and formidable members of the Fantastic Four, but is often underestimated due to his youthful appearance and seemingly simple ability, controlling and releasing fire. Many people mistakenly believe that his power is limited to burning down a few cars or creating a brilliant display. In fact, this entity's power goes far beyond what the naked eye can imagine. When reaching the peak of his energy, he can activate an attack called Nova, a thermonuclear explosion of great power. This attack is not just a dazzling display of light, it is a whirlwind of heat capable of incinerating everything within a radius of hundreds of kilometers. He himself has stated that at maximum intensity, the energy emitted from his Nova can completely destroy a small natural satellite, equivalent to a moon. A region of space was torn apart, crimson light filled all directions, each plasma exploded like a solar whip, the ground melted, the structure of matter disintegrated, the air burned to the point where it could not support life. That was the true power hidden inside a man who seemed to only know how to play with fire. The Human Torch, or Johnny Storm, was the living embodiment of pure heat and destruction. He could release the Nova Flame, an energy explosion with the intensity of a nuclear explosion. The heat wave he created could incinerate the entire surrounding area, reminiscent of the destructive power of a miniature supernova. Dr. Doom once claimed that if his supernova exploded near Earth, it could instantly kill half the population of a hemisphere. Remarkably, Johnny Storm could create a similar effect when it reached its maximum limit. He once blew up a volcano under the ocean, turned all the sand into glass in an instant, and completely destroyed a mountain with pure heat. His fire is powerful enough to melt a 2-foot thick layer of molybdenum, one of the metals with the highest melting point on the periodic table. He has defeated Namor, a warrior who can withstand the extreme pressures and temperatures of the deep sea. In confrontations with alien threats, Johnny has destroyed a meteor the size of Manhattan and even burned an object the size of a planet. He has also destroyed Annihilus and his entire army, proving himself to be a planetary-level strategic weapon. Despite this, he is often overlooked due to his youthful, humorous appearance and seemingly simple abilities. But on a scale of actual power, Johnny is worthy of being on a national to continental level. In a classic Fantastic Four lineup, he is second only to the Thing in power, and at times even surpasses him. Not only can he become a living flame, he can also create clones from his own flames. His body can completely escape heat, disappearing from infrared sensors. In some rare cases, he has been shown to be able to levitate objects with fire. His explosions have even been compared to the optic blasts of Cyclops, one of the most destructive mutants. According to energy measurements, the flames he creates have temperatures that surpass the core of a star. In an extreme outburst, the same energy nearly incinerated the entire giant body of the planet-consuming entity Galactus. Johnny can even damage ancient cosmic beings. A dinosaur-shaped clone created by Johnny's flames has been described as having the light and energy equivalent of an attack from the great Thor of Asgard. Later in the same story, this clone is also described as possessing energy levels comparable to the entire Earth of the main universe, i.e. Universe 616. However, such destructive power comes with serious risks, as very few people can survive or stand near him when the Nova energy is released. Of the entire Fantastic Four, only his sister, Susan Storm, is capable of withstanding the full fury of this energy. Using a force field she creates to protect the other members from Johnny's terrible heat, Susan is the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, not only in terms of defense, but also in terms of mental durability. She can withstand repeated attacks from beings with strength levels comparable to the Hulk. However, it is worth noting that that shield is not broken by physical force, but only collapses when her own spirit weakens, when her concentration is no longer enough to maintain the protective layer, meaning that the shield is in essence impenetrable until the human mind that created it cannot continue to withstand it. In the eyes of many, the Thing is often considered the strongest member of the Fantastic Four, thanks to his physical durability and superior muscular strength. However, when it comes to the ability to release energy continuously, Johnny Storm is the entity with the clear advantage. He can burn energy at an intensity far beyond the average superhero and maintain it for a considerable period of time. The key difference is that this ability has a clear limit in duration. The fire that Johnny releases reaches a terrifying temperature threshold, but using it at its highest level will quickly push his body to its limit, forcing him to rest and recover. Compared to the Thing, who can fight Hulk head-on for a long time before showing signs of weakness, Johnny is a fierce, explosive, short-lived fire. He can create heat waves beyond normal tolerance, causing the surrounding atmosphere to burst with superheated plasma storms. However, because the explosion is so large and the energy consumption is so fast, Johnny can hardly maintain his omnipotent state in prolonged battles. However, when he reaches his peak, his flames can confront opponents on a cosmic scale. The mighty Thor, the living destroyer Hulk, or the Silver Surfer, a being with the power of the Cosmic Herald, are all characters who can withstand Johnny's heat without being completely burned. But even against such entities, Johnny's flames are overwhelming enough for a moment, forcing them into a forced defensive state. In addition to his ability to explode in Nova form, he can also create tools from his own flames. The flaming shields, the fire bullets that rain from his palms, and even the heat waves that tear apart the space in front of him are all manifestations of Johnny's creativity and strategy in using his powers. Every movement of his hands is like a stroke of paint on a blazing picture of the battle. battlefield. And in that moment, he is not just a person, but the embodiment of pure and destructive energy. New York City is on high alert as an energy surge of unknown origin. Icy winds mixed with stifling hot air sweeps through the buildings, turning the entire Manhattan area into a climate-disrupting battlefield. Two of the most powerful entities involved in the element of heat, Iceman and Human Torch, propose two completely opposite solutions. Iceman believes that the most viable option is to cool the entire affected area, stabilizing the environment by cooling it evenly. Johnny Storm, on the other hand, insists that the energy center where the surge originated should be burned away. The disagreement quickly escalates into conflict. Human Torch takes the initiative, exploding with a small plasma blast, a nova burst that lights up the sky, drawing a hemisphere of fire that engulfs the skyscraper in front. Iceman reacted in a flash. He created a thick wall of ice rising like glass blades between the two sides. His body instantly transformed into a pure living ice form, absorbing the thermal shock and increasing his speed. The intricate ice net under his feet seemed to glide through a white jade maze. Bobby completely avoiding Johnny's fierce heat. Johnny Storm deployed a siege attack tactic. He created a giant vortex of fire, rotating like a red tornado, engulfing the space around Iceman with temperatures close to the point of vaporizing metal. But Bobby Drake, an Omega mutant, counterattacked in time. He split his body into hundreds of copies of the ice crystal structure, each copy reflecting the fire at a different angle, creating a forest of illusions that made it impossible for Johnny to determine his opponent's true location. Human Torch, determined not to be fooled, burned the entire surrounding area into a sea of fire. The atmosphere became dense, the dazzling light reflected on thousands of ice surfaces, but surprisingly, Bobby did not melt back. He began to absorb all the heat that was being emitted. His entire body glowed from within, as if an ice crystal was boiling under the enormous heat pressure. With his special ability, Iceman not only resisted fire, but also converted it into power, increasing his power to the maximum. Iceman began to manipulate the surrounding environment by freezing millions of moisture particles suspended in the air, a phenomenon where heat could not spread, trapped in an invisible cold maze. A thick layer of fog covered the buildings like an ice spider web, causing the Human Torch's fire, no matter how bright, to be restrained and suffocated in that stifling icy space. Realizing that the situation was tilting in his opponent's favor, Johnny Storm was forced to bet everything. He pushed his body beyond its physiological limits, activating the supernova state, a nearly uncontrollable explosion of heat energy. White-hot sparks shot out from Johnny's body, tearing the sky apart like a small sun rising over the city. Roads melted, concrete warped, and glass from tall buildings shattered as if stretched to its limits. Maintaining the supernova state for so long was rapidly degrading Johnny's body. His breathing became labored. The glow of the fire around him dimmed, and the previously burning skin began to pale like a dying ember. At that moment, Bobby Drake acted. Sensing that Johnny was nearing the end of his rope, he made his final move. By adjusting the surrounding temperature to its limit, Bobby condensed the carbon molecules suspended in the atmosphere into a special crystal of ice that was colder than any natural solid could form under normal conditions. With a decisive motion of his hand, he created a giant pillar of ice that surrounded Johnny, like a prism of ice that completely blocked all movement within. Johnny Storm, even the embodiment of living fire, could not escape the ice. The fire within the crystal was extinguished like a lamp extinguished in a winter night, and no matter how powerful the Nova Flame explosion was, it could not kill or stop Iceman. Iceman would respond to the Human Torch's strongest attacks and then return 100-fold, and ice won over fire. I hope you enjoyed this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, follow me if you like. That's it for today's video. Thanks a lot.